Hey, what's going on, guys? Hope you're having a great day. So, it's John here. I wanted to go ahead and just share with you an author that I think would be beneficial for you to look up and read some of his books so that you can have a changed perspective on how the world is operating. So, this author's name is Yuval Noah Harari. He's came out with three books that I think are extremely helpful in being able to shape or mold your mindset about how the world operates. So, the first book is called Sapiens, and it basically goes deep into detail about where humanity's history started and what preoccupied the majority of our ability to be able to construct our mentality about how the world operates, as well as what are some of the tools that we gained in that era, right? And then there's another book he wrote called 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, right? And it basically speaks on what's going on in our era today. In the 21st century, a lot of people have a misconception about how the world is operating and why it operates the way it operates and what we can do to be able to change it. And without having that structure, without having the foundation to be able to understand why the world is operating the way it's operating, I don't think that we'll be able to create some of the change that we would like to see in our society, right? And the third book is one called Homo Deus, and it basically goes deep into detail about what the future is going to be entailed. I think the majority of the way that we view the world is a little bit it's a little bit misconstrued due to our ability to be able to communicate efficiently enough for us to be able to understand how the world is really going, right? The majority of the technology that we have is beneficial in the fact that it gives us the ability to connect with people that might be thousands of miles away, right? But at the same time, it's also very important to understand that technology is extremely controlling, right? So there are mechanisms not only within our evolutionary biological chain that has given us the ability to be able to be controlled by this technology. For instance, we have certain mechanisms in our brain that basically make it more efficient to become essentially addicted to the technologies that we have in our society today, due to how these evolutionary traits benefited us thousands of years ago, right? And the majority of our media conglomerates, as well as the governmental institutions that essentially use these media conglomerates to be able to gain information, gain data. In my perspective, the way that I like to look at how our relationship between our tech conglomerates and our governmental systems operates, right, is that the government needs a way to be able to understand or to be able to acknowledge or to be able to control the minds of the mass populations, right? So the best route to be able to do that would be to be in cahoots essentially with the tech conglomerates. The tech conglomerates, what they do is they create data banks, right? Today, data. I've written an article basically about Amazon is a really good example of being able to understand this idea, right? So they have large, immense sums of information because they caught on to the fact that if you can gain a lot of information, if you can store that information, and then you would be able to use that information in the future so that you would be able to target specific audiences, right? So, from my perspective, the government uses these tech conglomerates as data banks to be able to gain as much information so that they would be able to essentially control the majority of the population. Because the way that we can get information is through technology. We have a limited amount of surface area basically for us to be able to view other people's opinions due to another article that I read basically talking about echo chambers in the Tower of Babel. If you have an opportunity, please read that. It goes into detail about the difficulties that we have in being able to understand different people's perspectives, right? And then that leads into another area where I think that we're kind of missing out on our ability to be able to um, explain or show the benefits of our democracy today, right? So the founding fathers created this great structure that we have kept until today. Like the United States, if I'm not mistaken, is one of the like youngest governmental systems, but it's also been able to be sustained for the longest amount of time. So the American experiment is extremely helpful in being able to create the foundation that we will use in the future. But at the same time, it's also difficult for us to be able to figure out how we can use this system to be able to benefit the people that are at the lower ends of the social hierarchy, right? So I think it would be beneficial for us to have an understanding, get a grasp of how we can be able to use this system for the benefit of people that might be at the lower ends of this of the economic strata, right? I've mentioned in multiple videos, right? A large assortment of our power is being given to our representatives, right? The representatives are part of a certain class. Their class isn't necessarily helping the people at the lower ends of the economic strata due to the fact that they would have to take money from their own pockets to be able to change how our system operates, right? So a third person, a third party, which goes into another article that I wrote called the just look up the article, and it basically gives you the information that you would be able to need to understand why it's difficult for us to be able to only have a two-party system, because the two-party system is essentially it only gives you one option, right? Wizard's choice theory or magician's choice theory, right? If you go into what the magician's choice theory is, you'll be able to basically understand why it's detrimental for us to only have a two-party system that doesn't allow us to be able to consider a third option, right? And so that goes into another conversation that two extremely intelligent people were having, called Brett Weinstein as well as his brother Eric Weinstein. And so they're trying to create this opportunity for us to be able to have another option towards the way that we are able to choose who's going to be the leader of the free world, right? And then it was recently taken off of Twitter, and I think that there's a correlation between the ability to be able to create free choice and our ability to be able to receive the information so that we can be updated on our ability to be able to choose a third option. So those are a few things that I think would be beneficial to be able to understand, so that we have an opportunity to be able to be represented by people that aren't of the highest level of the strata, that don't necessarily have our best interests in mind. So those were a few things that I think would be beneficial for you to check out today, so that you would have an understanding of where my mindset was. Thank you for checking out the video. Have a great day.